Spring is upon us, and it's that time. It's time for us to get some vitamin D. Today, we're going to be talking about how is it that we improve the vitamin D that we get into our bodies. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center, and welcome. Those of you that are patients here at our office, this is part of our care for all of our patients, that we supply educational information to help improve the ability to make better choices for our health. And in fact, it's something that we strive for, to educate and adjust as many families to optimal health using natural chiropractic care. That very first thing is education. And for those of you that aren't patients at the Limerick Chiropractic Center, I want to encourage you. Go to our YouTube page, look at these videos that we've presented, because there is related information on all different types of health topics, everything from stinky feet to how do we improve our bone density. So today we're going to be talking about vitamin D. And you know what? A lot of times we don't necessarily think about what vitamin D really is. It's one of those fat-soluble vitamins. In other words, unlike vitamin C and vitamin B, that, well, as soon as you put them into your body, they want to find a way to get out of your body. Vitamin D is one of those fat-soluble vitamins that's going to stick around for a little bit longer. It's got better staying power. In fact, one of the things that it does is it keeps our bones nice and strong. Besides the fact that it helps improve our mental health and our sleep patterns. Now, I know based upon the research that's out there, and there are so many studies done on vitamin D, that we recognize that 1 in 4 Americans happens to suffer from low vitamin D levels. Now, I will tell you, we always talk about testing the system. This is one of those things that will show up in normal routine blood work. And if you're concerned about your vitamin D levels, this is one of those things, if you're having just routine blood work, is to ask your general practitioner to make sure that you get updated on what your vitamin D level happens to be. Now, by the end of this video, you might want to have that conversation sooner rather than later if in fact you're one of those individuals that fits into the profile of, well, what we normally see when there's a vitamin D deficiency. Oftentimes, patients will come into the office. They're going to start talking about how they're exhausted, how they have these deep aches or this generalized muscle weakness throughout their body. And in fact, one of the really big things happens to be the mood swings that people find themselves having. Now, listen, there's a lot of different things that can cause any number of those 4 symptoms, any of those. So we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence if we're going to start to really track and monitor the vitamin D level, that we know where we're starting from, to ensure that, well, if in fact we're experiencing these things, and maybe we're experiencing, fatigue or not sleeping well, pain in the bones, hair loss, muscle weakness, loss of appetite, pale skin. Well, if we're going to start taking vitamin D because we suspect that it may be at the root cause of why we're experiencing those things, we want to be able to track and monitor how our body is not only processing, how we're getting it, improving the vitamin D level, but also if in fact we're seeing a reduction in those signs and symptoms based upon the fact that we're taking this action against those low levels. Now, if this sounds like you, we're going to talk about 3 things next. 3 very simple things of how is it that you're capable of improving your vitamin D level. Now, at the end of this video, you're going to leave me a comment. You're going to comment on if in fact you feel like you experience some of those things, and you're going to work on naturally getting your vitamin D level bumped up, Well, what is it that you're going to put into play? You're going to pick one of those three things. Maybe you're going to choose to do all three things in order to help improve your vitamin D level, but I want you to leave that in the comment section below. In fact, we ask that you like this video to make sure that others in your community get to see it more often, but then purposely share it with the people in your Facebook group to ensure that they're getting exposed to this really great information. So let's talk about those three things. Let's talk about how we can improve getting our vitamin D levels up. Now, first things first, well, we are what we eat. We need to make sure that if in fact we're consuming foods, that they're high in vitamin D, that they have those things. Now, I know some of you are going to look at this list here and say, oh, you know what? I don't like those things. Well, guess what? Everything happens to be a choice in life. There's a lot of people that don't like fruits and vegetables. They don't like anything green on their plate. That's a choice. And the choice is up to you, how you choose to engage in order to help yourself perform better. But if you're like me, listen, things like fatty fishes, the salmons, the trout, the tuna, the mackerel, these things have a higher level of vitamin D in them. Same with things like herring and sardines. Now, I'm one that likes sardines. I really enjoy the taste. I enjoy the flavor. I find ways of putting them into my salads and different foods that I consume. So for me, that's one of those go-to. The egg yolks. Well, we've been vilified. Oftentimes we vilify egg yolks. You don't want to consume too many of these. Let me tell you, egg yolks, we're not worried about the fat. It's those good fats that they carry in with them. That's what you actually want. We also know that beef liver is high in vitamin D. And yes, there aren't many people out there that really enjoy calf's liver or beef liver. But let me tell you, properly prepared, properly cooked, that organ meat has a high level of vitamin D in it. It brings a lot of bang for the buck. Dairy products also have vitamin D in them, but buyer beware. There's good and better milk choices. There's good and better sources and suppliers. So you want to be wary of where these things come from. And let me tell you, the fat-free, the 2% or 1% milk, the skim milks are not those better choices. We could do a whole video on choices in dairy that are actually good and better for you. If you choose to, those A2 sources are going to be a better choice. Finally, there's mushrooms on this list. Some people love them, some people shy away from them. It doesn't matter whether they're white, portobello, shiitake mushrooms. Listen, the choice is up to you. These are things that you could constantly be putting into different things that you already consume. If you're used to eating eggs in the morning, producing an omelet. If you're used to making your own pizza, putting it on your pizza. Same within your salads. There's ways of combining these foods into things that we already do that are great. They're easy to do. We don't have to overcomplicate it. The other thing happens to be sun exposure. Now listen, the last time I checked, it was free. You don't have to put the quarter in the machine in order to get the sun. But what you do need to know is, when is it a better time? There's a lot of different information out there. I'm just going to tell you. We get the best sun exposure between 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when we're going to get that most beneficial exposure for our body. And it has to do with all the UV rays, but we're not going to do a deep dive into that conversation right now. We just want to make sure that we're getting sun exposure. Now, when you get sun exposure, guess what? You got to expose your body. You got to have that time out there that allows for us to have that photochemical reaction. We want to spend 15 to 20 minutes at a shot. If in fact you have more sensitive skin, if you're concerned about it. You certainly don't want to be utilizing sunscreen, because sunscreen is simply going to block that. In fact, one of the best recommendations is to make sure that you also don't have sunglasses on at the time. This way we're getting that maximum exposure to that really great source, which happens to be the sunshine. Now, finally, listen, there are supplements. There are supplements that are out there. Some people just can't stomach, consuming the fishes, consuming the liver or the mushrooms. But we can take nutritional sources, vitamin D2, vitamin D3, and definitely, there's better forms like the D3, because the D3 raises the level more efficiently than vitamin D2. Some people, they take D2, K3. You know what? One of the biggest things that I recommend is taking action, doing something. It's recommended, that most individuals, they're consuming about 600 units, international units, during the course of the day. If we're over 70, guess what? The reason why that number goes from 600 up to 800 happens to be the fact that most seniors don't get outside as much. They don't consume as much food, which means that in the end, on top of the fact that their digestive system doesn't work as efficiently, guess what? They need to have a little bit more of that material on the shelf for their body to be able to actually absorb. In fact, that's why we talk about in chiropractic care the benefit of getting checked and adjusted, because there are certain parts of your nervous system that control how your body breaks foods down, how it allows for the absorption, and then how it allows for your body to transfer those great vitamins that you're bringing into the system to the respective parts of the body that they need to go to. We know that a well-adjusted spine is going to communicate at 100%. It's going to work more at that optimal level. And like we said, we need to improve the function of our body any way we possibly can. So one of the really big recommendations is making sure you stay regularly checked, regularly adjusted, to ensure that your body is working at that optimal level. Now, I know each and one of us has taken something different away from this brief conversation on vitamin D. I'm going to encourage you, leave a comment in the section below. Leave a question that you might have about how to improve your ability to get more vitamin D in your body. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.